That's the last time Grandma ever went to the moon. And now for the interviews. Jim?
Jim, and we're back out here in the field, and we got some more interviews for you. Today I'm going to be interviewing a really special person, and... Well, hello over there.
Hi.
Well, don't be shy. Let's get moving. All right, we got a lot of interviews to do. Hey, okay, all right. This guy, well, he's a king, right? You are the King of England, if I understand, correct?
Yes, you're perfectly correct about that statement.
And I have come to my conclusion that you got a little bit of an uprising on your hands in the American colonies.
This so-called uprising, you call it, it's nothing more than peasants rebelling. What happens every century for every king.
Well, I hear they're a little bit more organized because they just sent you a thing called the Declaration of Independence. So what do you think of that?
That piece of paper is just not well thought out at all. And there are multiple people who I thought I respected amongst the colonies, but they have completely degraded themselves down to absolutely nothing by writing that. That paper has no bearing on me whatsoever, and I do not plan to follow any of their demands.
Do you think your military can handle this? Because you're on their turf.
We may be on their turf, but we took their turf from somebody else, all right? We are the so-called dominating force of the world. We have colonies everywhere. This isn't our first rodeo. We have many different colonies under our belt, and we do not plan on stopping with the 13 colonies in America.
But if they were to succeed in this rebellion, not saying they would, of course, your kingliness, but like, do you think they'd be able to survive on their own?
If somehow a bunch of phony soldiers and peasants were to beat my impeccable army, then they'd fall into chaos quickly. They have no government. They plan on doing something called a democracy.
What?
I don't know what a democracy is, but it's obviously not going to work. They need a strong leader, a king like myself, to rule over them.
And last question here. You know, there's this thing going around. It's like called a common sense like document, and it says that a island should not rule over a continent. What do you think about that?
I think it's bupkis, to be perfectly honest with you. And whoever wrote that should die in pain.
All right, well, you heard it here first, folks. That is the King of England, and we're going back in the studio with you, Jim. Take it away.
That hippo sang the song all the way through the night. And now for the interviews. Jim?
Jim, and now we're here, and we're going to be interviewing somebody really great. Let's see. George Washing Machine. Well, there he is. Let's go say hello.
George H. Washing Machine to you, good sir.
My apologies. Anyway,
Humblest of apologies.
it's an honor to meet you, sir. It's an honor to
you,
meet you.
peasant scum.
Anyway, I just got a few questions for you, if you don't mind answering some of these. So,
Okay.
Mr. Washing Machine, how do you feel about those damn nasty Brits?
I'll tell you about those bloody tea drinkers. They're a piece of scum. They're much like that trash king over there. They're garbage.
What?
We're not even affiliated with them anymore. I've written a piece of paper about it, but I haven't sent the email yet. The invoice is still ongoing.
I see. And what is this paper all about?
This paper is declare our independence, however you pronounce it.
Independence.
Independent.
Yeah.
It was inspired by the great philosophers of our times, and we've written our documents about it.
Wow.
And we've been inspired by the previous rebellions to form a new government.
Well, that is wonderful, Mr. Washing Machine. And just one more thing, I hear that they didn't receive that paper really well. You haven't heard it, but this is like old news because news takes a long time to travel. Anyway, they don't like it. So, how do you feel about this upcoming war that you're gonna have to fight?
Well, I tell you what, the Brits have us outnumbered 4-1, but we've got 50 times the spirit.
That's what I like to hear.
We may not have the weapons, we may not have the men, but I tell you what, we have the spirit.
Well, that is just great. But I've heard some controversy about you, Mr. Washing Machine. I've heard a terrible rumor, that you defected from the tea drinkers to join this American cause.
Defected is not the word I would use. I am a changed man at heart. My mind is anew. I am different from all of these other cooperators.
Well, I can see that in your eyes. I can see, when I look at a man in the eyes and I can see through it, that's how you know he's a good man. Anyway, so, my final question before we let you go about your day, good sir. You said that these papers were put out by the philosophers. You used a lot of their ideas into this paper. So, like, what type of ideas were you using?
Well, not to get on the topic of plagiarism, because we
No, you would
we
never.
clearly aren't.
You aren't Brit.
But we've been inspired by Thomas Paine and all of the great philosophers. They have concepts, voting, public, civil participation, and that's something we want.
And that's what you're building America on.
We're tired of taxes, damn it.
And so am I. Well, Jim, I'm gonna take it back to you in the studio. That's our interview with George Washington.
That's the last time that gerbil ever rode a bike. He never lived again. And now for the interviews. Jim?
Hey, thanks, Jim, from the studio, and I am here with another great interview. Well, there he is right there. So let's go. Sir. May I ask you a couple questions?
Sorry, we my tea time.
Well, can I ask you questions now?
Of course.
Ah, great. So it is my understanding that you are a colonist that is supporting of the British Crown during these hectic times.
Absolutely. The British Crown has done nothing wrong to us. They only raise our taxes in support of themselves, which also supports us.
I see. So how do you feel about all these events going on in the colonies? You got this tea thing happening. I see you're a big tea guy, so.
Honestly, I can't even fathom people wasting perfectly good tea and throwing it into the harbor. It's ridiculous. They're mad about tea taxes, which, I understand everyone loves their tea, including me, but wasting perfectly good tea, it never solves anything.
Exactly. I don't get it either. So I think you've already answered this question about how loyal you are to the British Crown.
Absolutely. King George, more like my brother.
Anyway, so I've heard a rumor that you are being very disapproved of these constitution things that are going on up in Philadelphia.
To be completely honest, those people are just children inside men's bodies. They have no idea how to run a government like the Brits do. Now, believe me, people can be upset to time about small things like soldiers having to stay in their houses, but I feel like mostly they're just babies complaining all the time about every little thing.
I gotta agree with you. These guys are being real obnoxious. And also, on the point of this Declaration of Independence, I talked to somebody earlier who said it had a lot to do with philosophy and people writing on the fact of freedom of the people and all that. How does that make you feel?
Now, I'm not too into philosophy, but I know that the people ruling our government, like King George and his advisors and councils, they know what's going on. They know how to run us completely safe and completely, what's the word? Completely right.
Yeah. And you don't think these colonists or leader, whatever they are, can do the same?
Absolutely not. They're just peasants that want more power.
Ooh, I like that word.
All of them are just peasants.
I like that word, peasants. So how do you think these events are going to affect your life?
Not at all, honestly. I know that the British soldiers are on my side, and obviously they're the most powerful force in the world. Do you think a couple peasants with pitchforks could go up against them? No, they can't. So I'll be here, sitting on my porch swing with some fresh brewed tea in my hand, watching the battles.
Yeah, because honestly, what do you expect a little bit of colonists to do? What? Win a war that starts an entirely new country that turns into a superpower that fights for oil every year?
Indubitably!
Yeah. Please. Anyway, we're gonna head it back into the studio with you, Jim. Take it away.
And all the puppies died in fire. And now for the interview. Jim?
Thanks, Jim, from the studio. We are back out here with some more great interviews, and we got our guy right over there, so we're gonna jump right into it. So if you just follow me, hey, look, hi. And there he is. Look at, oh my,
Whoa.
yeah, hey.
What do you want, son?
Pick your battles, but I'm just here to ask you some questions about this whole revolution thing that's going on. You know, it's crazy, right?
Revolution.
Yeah, you haven't heard? So I just got a few questions about it, all right?
Okay.
So I'm sure you've heard this already, but you got some people up there in like Philadelphia making a document to send to Britain saying y'all don't want to be a part of Britain no more. So what are your thoughts about this?
Well, I don't know what document means, but I can tell you that I don't want to be a part of Britain.
Ah, I see. And how do you think these hostilities between the colonies and Britain will affect your daily life?
Well, I tell you what, if I become a soldier, then I will fight. And it might just cost me my life, but if it means millions of others get freedom, then I'm happy.
Okay, and why do you feel this way? You know, like what things did Britain do that oppresses you?
Well, I remember back when I could work 3 days in a buy rifle like this, brand new, and now I have to work 8 weeks just to get half of it.
What the heck? That is absolutely absurd. So anyway, back to the Constitution that they're writing. What kind of laws do you think they'll be put in this Constitution?
Well, I don't know what a constitution is. I don't know what laws are, but I do know that I would like some separation of power. I'd like the people to have a voice.
And that is just that's 100% what this whole Constitution's about. Anyway, the last question: are you prepared to use this bad boy right here to fight for your freedom?
You're darn right I am. I'm
And-
ready to go to war with Britain, and I might just shoot King George with this myself.
Well, I interviewed King George the other day, so I'll hook that up for you. All right. So, thank you for your time. Anyway, we're gonna head it back to you in the studio, Jim.
And that has been your news broadcast for this night's entertainment. Go ahead. Stop watching. It'd be terrible if something happened on March 15th at 12:75. You didn't think 75 was a time. You'd be wrong. We're watching. We're always watching. And that's Jim from the studio. Good night.